All right, I want to give you a demo of the Oregon Renewable Energy Siting Assessment Tool. So the way we've broken out the tool is to present the user with a splash screen that shows three different kind of pathways that you can explore the tool. One is by exploring the data in the map layers. Another is to get a report of siting information for a particular area of interest. And the third is to learn more about the policies and procedures and about the tool itself. So let's first dive in by exploring the data. So you can either click on this button here, or you can close the place, and then we can see the tool is open. To explore the data, we go to the layers, and we can see that we have all of these layers that have been curated for the tool. There are several hundred layers in here, and so it's been a challenge to try and find good ways to put it all together, but we think we've done a good job of what we've got. We have military operational areas, energy infrastructure, renewable energy potential, and I'll just show you some of the layers that are within each of these. The energy infrastructure, you have substations, transmission lines, power plants, renewable energy potential, broken out by solar, wind, geothermal, biomass, hydroelectric, marine and hydrokinetic, opportunity areas. We have enterprise zones, opportunity zones, natural resource considerations, which is going to be a focus of the report that we'll look at today, broken out by quite a few areas. I won't spend the time to read through all of these at the moment. National register and historic places, administrative boundaries and planning, land cover, ownership, and you can read the rest here. One quick way to find layers, since there are so many layers, is that you can start typing up here and find a particular layer that might match what you're looking for. So here, typing in sage, you can find sage grouse. The map viewer itself, you can kind of click on a layer and it'll turn on and off layers in the map. So I'll zoom in and you can see layers on the map. We have transmission lines on by default, and here I turned on the sage grouse layer. For each of these layers, we also have additional information. So there's metadata that you can find for the layers. Here's the description that begins on top along with metadata. You can download the layer. You can get more service information, etc. So that if you ever kind of want to know how to get more information about a tool, you can click on these little carrots to the side on the tool itself. So now I want to transition over to running a report. So there's several ways you can do that. We have it get a report here, so I'm going to go ahead and click that. And this is going to walk us through a series of steps. First, you kind of get a description with a disclaimer about what you can anticipate the tool doing and kind of the limitations of it. So we present the user with some information to give it a name. So I'm just going to say demo for this particular one. And then you can choose either an onshore development or an offshore development. For the onshore developments, we have it broken out by geothermal, solar, wind, and other. And if you choose offshore, then it changes to hydrokinetic and wind. So we're going to choose onshore and a solar project. We'll say the height is probably not going to be 100, but we'll say maybe 30 feet. Megawatts, we'll say 200 megawatts. And most of this is just kind of to keep track for your own notes of what you anticipate the project might be doing. So next we are provided with a step to select an area of interest. And there are two ways to do that. One is either you can draw your own or you can upload a file. For this demo, we're going to draw an area of interest. So I'm going to zoom in here a little closer and just find a spot. And you can choose to draw either by a shape or by a box. I'm going to draw by a shape. And we'll just put a spot here by the road and draw that. And then given the option, if you want to add a buffer, so we can use this slider, we'll just add a 3-mile buffer. Well, we'll settle for 2.8. And so then we push apply, and that adds it to the map, and then we'll do next. So now on the next step, it'll run through all of the various intersections and queries that'll help populate this report. In a second here, we'll see kind of the laundry list of queries that it's going to go through. And as it's walking through the queries, you can see kind of the status of where it's at and the information it's pulling out. So we have it broken out into these various sections. Site information, you get kind of the higher level overview of the area and some of the land use considerations. The military operational areas for some of the key layers of interest for the military, renewable energy potential, natural resources considerations, and there's a lot of layers that we interrogate there. And then once it's done, it will spit out what we call kind of a dynamic report. So there's two types of report. One is this dynamic report, and it's still plugging away to pull out some maps to put into a PDF report. Once that's ready, a button will show up for the PDF report, and we'll walk through that here in a second. So in this dynamic report, we have these 6 sections that we're seeing here. We'll start with the site information. The site information, again, gives you kind of that overview, the amount of area, spits back some of the information you put in as far as the megawatts and the height, the name that you provided. Then we look through, and you can see what sort of layers it intersects the area that you drew on the map. So now it's completed the PDF report, and so that's ready. So here's the state land inventory system. It says it does intersect it. So these view buttons turn on and off the layers on the map, so you can kind of see what is being intersected for particular layers. So it's a handy way to kind of see quickly what the information is for that particular layer. So that's for kind of these basic administrative boundaries and planning. And then there's land management ownership. And for these, we have, again, you can turn on and off the layer. And we also have it highlighting which parts of it intersect. So the state government is over 70.3% of this particular area of interest. And then you can see down here, there are maps for each of these that pop up, and these are also inserted then into the PDF report. We'll move on to the military operational areas. And so this particular area does intersect a couple of areas. And so again, as Casey mentioned in the overview, one of the main goals of this tool is to really help initiate contact and coordination with military for any developments that are being planned. And so here we intersected 2 important layers, the military training route corridor and the military special use airspace. And the user is given a button that they can push to initiate contact, which will essentially send an email to whichever contact is there, along with your email, and you can choose to attach the PDF report to the email and have that sent. So that's the military operational section. The renewable energy potential has layers showing for solar kind of what the potential capacity is at this spot, the average annual solar global irradiance levels that you can turn on and off as well. And then some additional layers that you can turn on and off. Now for natural resources, we have a lot of layers that we queried. We have 46 total layers. You can choose to see the ones that actually hit something that had a result that came back by default, or you can choose to see all 46 that were queried here and interrogate those on the map. So I'll just highlight some of these as we go down. In species and habitats, so it looks like the essential pronghorn habitat did intersect with this area, and you can turn that on and off. And again, for these layers, you can click on the information and you can get more of a description about that layer as well as some metadata. And for some of the layers, you can download them as well. So this one intersected pronghorn, elk, deer, sage grouse, low density, sage-grouse core areas and conservation opportunity areas. We do plan to also add threatened and endangered species and state-sensitive species counts within a mile of the drawn area, and that work is still in progress. I'll move on to opportunity areas. So here you can see the substations, and if it intersected any opportunity areas, in this case it did not. And then transmission lines, the distance to transmission lines, which could be important when you're considering the development. And then finally, there's a list of contacts. So we have the local county contacts. It happens to be both in Deschutes and Crook County that we're crossing county line here. And then BLM district, state contacts. So quite a few contacts for the state, and then also some federal contacts at the bottom. Now I'll just quickly show you the PDF report. And this is also stylistically still a work in progress, and the whole tool, I should mention, is also a beta tool. So things may not look exactly the same in its final iteration. But the PDF report essentially spits out all the information plus some additional bits for the user that you can kind of save and download and take with you. So again, here are the tables, administrative boundaries. Then you get some maps with land management ownership, the areas, the zoning information with the legends. And so as you can see, it's a 45-page PDF that was dynamically generated just for this particular area of interest. Here's the military operational areas. And I'll come down, show some of the wildlife maps that were included as well. Wetlands inventory, national hydrography data set, the soils, conservation opportunity area. So it does kind of get bisected by some conservation opportunity. The sage-grouse core area, you can see that it's kind of in and out of a core sage-grouse area, in the low density area and the edge here. So as you can see, you can get a lot of information out of the tool. And at the very end, we list all of the contacts and services that were used for the tool. So there's metadata links, service links, and download when made available as well at the end. So with that, I think that gives you a good sense of what this tool can do. And I thank you for watching this demo.